I always think if you ask any kid why it is that they love something, they can never, ever tell you. Now, if someone asked me when I was a kid why I love swimming, I wouldn't have been able to tell you at all. One day when I was 7 years old, I was sitting in the back of the car, my mum was driving along, and she looked into the rearview mirror and she said to me, "You like swimming? Why don't you join the swimming club?" I thought, what a great idea, why don't I join the swimming club? So I did, and very, very quickly, I had loads and loads of friends at the swimming club. Also, very quickly, I had dreams of going to the Olympics. And I got home one day after swimming, and I sat my mum and dad down on the sofa, and I said, "I'm going to go to the Olympic Games, and I'm going to win a gold medal." Pretty big words, that, for a 7-year-old. But they didn't laugh at me. Really important, that. They didn't laugh at me. Instead, they said, "How are you going to do that?" And I said, "I don't know." They said, "Well, that doesn't matter. The fact that you want to do that, that's absolutely brilliant. We'll back you up in whatever way we possibly can." Very next day, I got down to the swimming club and I sat my coach down and I said exactly the same thing to him. "I'm going to go to the Olympic Games and I'm going to win a gold medal." And he asked me the same question. "How are you going to do that?" Well, I gave him the same answer. "I don't know." He said, "Well, that doesn't matter. The fact that you want to do it, that's the main thing. You and me will form a partnership, and I'll back you up in whatever way I possibly can. But there's only one person here that's going to do the work, and that's going to be you." That was brilliant. That was just what I needed to hear. And as I got older, I started getting better and better, started training more and more times each week. By the age of 10, I was doing roughly 20,000 metres every single week in the swimming pool. A couple of years after that, I was just starting to break out onto the national scene. So I was just starting to race the other best kids in the country of my age. And that Olympic dream was burning bright. The following year, just started year 9 at school. Now, for the benefit of probably most of you in the room, that's the 3rd year. And after a long, hot summer with the school playing field baked hard, like the stage, I fell over and I snapped my arm clean in two just below the shoulder. Got rushed to casualty, had an x-ray taken. That x-ray showed a clean break just below the shoulder. And around this break was a fuzzy patch. But no one really seemed to be paying much attention to that fuzzy patch. A couple of days later, I was laying on my hospital bed, and a junior doctor that I got on really well with, he came in and we talked about this and that. But this one time in particular, just as he was leaving the room, he opened the door, looked over his shoulder, and he said to me, "Oh yeah, you know you've got to go to London to have some tests. Got to go to London to have some tests. If your local hospital can't fix a broken arm, there's probably something a little bit more wrong with you than just a broken arm." And when I got to University College Hospital in London, that's where they told me I had a bone tumour. I had cancer. I was 13 years old and I had a disease that wasn't supposed to happen to kids my age. It was supposed to happen to people my grandparents' age. Now, to get better, I had to have chemotherapy. I've got a picture here of what I look like. All of my hair fell out. In case any of you are wondering, it's me in the middle. I should also point out that this is actually my mum, not David Bowie. Now, also to get better, I was going to have an operation. Have an operation to have this bone, which is ironically called the humerus, have this bone removed and replaced with a metal prosthesis, with a metal bone. Now, part of that operation meant that all of my shoulder muscles from my right side had to be removed. And now the reason for that is if you think about the way that a muscle works, really just an incredibly simple and crude device. All it does is shorten the distance between 2 points. That's all a muscle does. If I lift my arm up like that, it's just my bicep here shortening the distance between my forearm and my shoulder. But that shortening device can only work if it's attached to 2 fixed points. A muscle can only grow onto something that's living. Metal isn't living. There's no point only having a muscle attached at one end, and so all of those shoulder muscles went. And when they went, so did all of that kind of range of motion in my right side. Now, if you're a swimmer and you've got dreams of going to the Olympic Games, that is a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. But I got through the treatment, and I got better, and I started swimming again. Started swimming again just using my left arm. Now, the reason that I started swimming again was to stay in contact with all of the great friends that I had at the swimming club. Not long after starting swimming again, my coach started to enter me for competitions. Now, I'd go to these competitions and I would get comprehensively thrashed every single time, because I'd be swimming with one arm and all the other kids would be swimming with two. And on the way home from these competitions, I'd be thinking to myself, why is he doing this? Why is he doing this? He knows that I'm going to get so badly beaten every single time. And I went back to a swimming club and I sat him down and I said, Mike, I don't want to do the competitions anymore. I want to carry on coming down here. This is the bit that I enjoy, hanging out down the club with my mates. By this point, all of my mates had started warming up. He said, look at everyone else here. Everyone else here comes down here to try and be their best in the sport of swimming. That's why we belong to this club. That's why we come down here. In swimming, you compete as an individual, but you train as a team. And it's almost impossible for me as a coach to get that team to do what I want it to if people within that team think that different things are expected and different things are required. So if you want to carry on coming down here, you've got to carry on doing the competitions. So I kind of bought into this. Kind of bought into it. I go to the swim meets, I wasn't really bothered about it. I'd go training, I'd swim just about fast enough so it wouldn't get told off. If you wanted to sum me up, you'd say I was the guy who did just enough. I was at a swimming meet in East London, not far from where the 2012 Games is going to be. And I was spotted by a woman from the British Paralympic team. She said to me, we're having a training weekend way up north in Darlington. There's going to be members there from the Great Britain team. Why don't you come up, try out, see what you think? I said, do I have to pay for it? She said, no, but you are a bit unfit. Thanks. So I got the train up there and I walked into this big, posh northern hotel, walked through into the ballroom, stopped dead in my tracks. This room was absolutely full of disabled people. Now you think about the last time you saw a disabled person on the street. You might have seen one. You might have seen two. But I pretty much guarantee you didn't see three, and you certainly didn't see 70. And that was the first time it ever occurred to me, I've got a disability. And on the train on the way home, I was thinking to myself, oh man, the Paralympics. How does it ever answer the dream of going to the Olympics? Are the two the same? Are they equal? I'll tell you the truth. At first, I didn't think they were. I really didn't. And I went back to my swimming club and I carried on doing just enough, doing the odd competition because my coach said I had to. I was at a home swimming meet, and afterwards I was upstairs in the cafe chatting away with my mates. And a guy came up to me who'd been the head coach of the Moscow 1980 Olympic swimming team. That was the year that Duncan Goodhue won gold, Sharon Davis won a silver. He came up to me and he said, I was really impressed with what you were doing in there today. That must have taken a lot of guts. You got dreams of going to the Paralympics? I said, nah. He said, well, I also hear that you've been pretty ill. Maybe before you were ill, you could do 10,000 things. 10,000. So now, after a bit of bad luck, you can only do 9,000 things. Well, that leaves you with a choice. You can concentrate on the 1,000 things that you can't do anymore, or you can concentrate on the 9,000 things that you can still do. And that was the spark. That's what got me thinking, deep down inside, I still love doing this sport. I had a great offer to move up to Manchester, and I started swimming up there. And in 2000, I qualified for the Sydney Games, and, if it works, this is what happened.